What are the events in Minecraft and how can we utilize events to inject something at some special times in the game? Hello everyone, this is Ali Reza. Welcome to the Mentor Code Lab. If you remember, we had an item called tuner item. We would use this tuner item to teleport entities around the world. However, when we right-click with this item on the villagers would not teleport, and instead they would open up their trading panel. And at the time, I mentioned that we can solve this when we learn about events. Today is the time. Now, what is an event? An event is a pointer in time when something special happens. Work.sync work event and portal frame filled. And then another one and portal opened. And it is again sync global event, not the world event this time. So these were two conditions where we were sending an event. We were creating an event. One, when we were putting one eye on a portal, and then when the whole portal was ready, we were sending an event saying that, hey, everyone, be aware, and portal is opened. And basically, events are just that, shouting to the game about something. When someone is shouting, someone can listen. And that is exactly why when we are talking about events, we talk about listeners. Listeners are entities, things, objects, whatever, that is in game and are listening to see if this event is happening or not. Basically, when you are working with events, you will shout about something and then something else will listen to this shouting and catch it and do something. Looks crazy, isn't it? Don't worry, it's easy. In our case, when we are right-clicking on a villager, the game itself fires an event. The event is that we are clicking on a villager. A listener somewhere will catch this event and says, okay, hey, someone clicked on a villager. Let's open the trading panel for that someone. So the event has an owner. The owner here is the player that is clicking. And a listener says that, okay, a player clicked on a villager. I understand that event. Hey, player, here's the GUI for you. So how does it help us? We can add our own listener to the game and listen to this event and catch this event before anyone else and handle things ourselves, preventing the GUI to open and teleport the villager. We will start with adding the listener and then we will come back and find about every possible event inside Minecraft and see how we can utilize them. Under event folder, I will add a class, call it mod events, and I'm lazy as hell, so come back here and take a look. We had a constructor that is throw new assertion error. Okay, that was what I was looking for. So I will alt insert constructor, and here I say true new assertion error. So that's our assertion. And then not registering because register is wrong here. I will say add listeners maybe. I'm thinking about the naming here. Come here and instead of register, we say add listener. Okay, now that we have add listeners, of course, we need to call it from somewhere and the best place is the main exactly. Now remember, when we are working with events, we can add events before anything else. So we say mod events dot add listeners, and that's it basically. Now here I can say add villager click listener, and this is a private method, by the way. So alt enter create method, and here is the whole magic. So why did I put it this way? Because if you look at the wiki page of Fabric, they are adding their listener directly on initialize in the main mod. Well, that will make things busy and complex because main mod may have lots of events and who knows how many events you need in the game. And if you are adding those events one after another in this uninitialized class, it will make your main class busy and, well, we can prevent it easily like this. And for each event listener, I will add my private method here and add the listener there. As simple as that. To add a listener, we have to somehow find our entry point inside the event system. We can say use entity callback. Now remember, we have few different callbacks. And if you look at that, is net fabric MC, fabric API, event player. But if I use callback and I scroll down until I get to use, we see use block callback, use entity callback, use item callback, and few more actually, timer callback and other stuff. So we can have different callbacks. Here we know that villager is an entity. So we say use entity callback. That entity callback has the entry for events. And now we can register our own listener as you see as the parameter. Now again, I will open a parenthesis, type player. It will hint for me that it should be the player word hand entity hit result. Hit enter. Go one line below, open and close curly braces. Now this curly brace, before ending it, we need to return something. And here we have action result. Action result can have different types. Either we fail the action, we success the action, or we pass. If we fail, well, we are indicating that we couldn't do anything, do your own thing. If we success, we consume the action. And as you see, we can consume it directly on top. But success basically means that, hey, we finished handling the event. So Minecraft, you don't need to care about anything else. Move on and play the game. Basically, using success here is a little bit dangerous because you should be careful when you are successing an event and then you should pass the event. Basically, what I'm doing here is saying that, hey, if the event is happening, I'm listening to the event. But if there is nothing else that I can do, just pass and let other listeners do anything else they want. However, there are cases that I want to consume this event, isn't it? So we say item stack equals to, we got the player, we can get the stack in hand, and we sent in the hand. This is the player that is firing the event, and this is the hand that was used to fire the event. So we got the stack there. We want to check if stack.is of mod items.tooltuner. If that is not the case, we would again return action result pass. However, this is one way of doing it. I will open curly braces here. So I could negate it and return action result pass, but I want to keep it like this. Then we say if not, stack dot has nbt, and that is changed. I forgot. Okay, let's take a look. That is tuner item, and that is what we want. Okay, I totally forgot that thing is changed this way. So instead of this, now we can say if nbt equals to null, because it should be nullable. If it's null, then we failed. Return action result dot fail means that although we are using the tuner doesn't have any information. So where to teleport anything, forget about it. We can't do anything there. Now that we had the data and the nbt actually is here, we want to make sure that the entity that we are clicking on it is teleportable. So we say if entity dot get type dot is in tuner blacklist. And I think I need to put a reference somewhere because if we look, we have it here, and that is this import. Okay, so it's a static import and it's there. So if it is in the blacklist, means that we can't teleport that entity again. So again, we will fail the action. When we get here, we made sure that we have some data on the tuner, and the entity we want to teleport is actually teleportable. Now, the last one, if the entity that is firing the event, its type equals to entity type dot villager. Basically, if the entity that fired the event is a villager, that is when the whole thing will start. Okay, we have the data. We want to take the blog post from the data, and that is that. So we got the blog post. Now we say if not player.getWord.isClient. Because if we are client, we don't do teleportation on the client side. Then we want to get the dimension and the rest of the stuff. So the dimension is here and user dimension is here. And we are checking the equality. Okay. Now instead of user here, we change it to player. Up until now, we are doing the exact same thing that we had done inside use on entity. The only difference is that we are catching an event and we make sure that the event is from villager so that we consume that event and we won't let others basically use it. So if we take a look, we had this entity teleport blob and refresh position, and here we were returning the action result success. So we want to do that again. It should work. Now, if we didn't do this teleportation, or if we fail for whatever reason, we return fail. Remember, when we return action result success, we are consuming the event. That's the whole thing. And again, after that, we want to make sure that we are continuing with this part and sending the messages for the player and everything else. So instead of user here, we just need to send in player, and that's it basically. And finally, the whole thing was finished. Now, if you are smart enough, you'll understand that this whole thing is exactly the copy of this whole thing. You can separate this part as a method call on the item itself, like extract a method, and we get action result, get result. No, we say return use on entity result. Okay, and we are sending in the user, the entity, and NBT. But here I will make it public, and I'm not sure if I need it to be static. So now, instead of doing everything here, can I say that the stack dot use, what did I call it? NBT result, and I know that it is yelling something at me, but let's take a look. Like so, the only problem is that now it is saying that cannot resolve method in item stack. Well, here is the funny part. We can say use on entity, and we send in the player. However, the entity here should be a living entity, so we can typecast it to living entity, and the hand should be sent in, and we have the hand. Now let's take a look. If I just comment this whole thing, this should in theory work, because we made sure that we are catching the event for the villager, and then we are forcing it to happen on the item stack, and item stack here will be the item in our hand. Okay, let's play the game and see if this will work. As Minecraft is coming up, don't forget you can donate cryptocurrency if you like to, and the link to the donation with cryptocurrency is in the description. Okay, now single word, and I remember that I had a word here. Okay, I have the tuner, and it does have binding. So now if I click on the villager, it didn't do anything. Oh yeah, it did. It teleported the villager. However, take note, if I make it empty and I bind it here, it will teleport the villager and it will open the trade. I'm not sure if what was the reason for not showing it before, but it did teleport the villager. However, it is showing the panel. Now, why is that? Because I made changes inside the code here. Let's take a look. Use on entity is returning this after finishing everything. So looks like I can't do that. And also, I can't call this action because it's an item and not item stack. And honestly, it won't change anything because the logic should change a little bit between these two, and it may not look like it, but this way should prevent the villager from opening its trading panel. And let's take a look at the result. So let's have more villagers in here, and let's use the tuner. And as you see, I don't open the trading panel anymore. Okay. Now you may say, hey, they don't have any occupation. Then that's correct. So let's try villagers with occupation. Look at there. Hey, you go back. And they are not getting occupied. That's interesting. Well, I'm making a mess. Yeah, teleport, 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 teleport. And this happens when you don't think before working. Okay, and there. So will you get occupied? Yes. And now if I make more, this guy didn't open the panel. Why don't you get the occupation? I don't know. Okay, I will do it this way. Oh, whatever. Create the villager, he got occupied, teleported. Create the villager, occupied, and teleported. So no matter how many times I will try it, he won't open the panel, okay? And that's the beauty of using the, oh, come on, you can. If you don't, go, Okay, that's the beauty of using events. So no matter how many times I try, let's put it there. You teleport, 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 teleport. And as you see, no matter how many times I teleport those occupied villagers, I don't get any more panel opened. So that's what I'm doing here when I'm returning success. Now you may ask yourself, hey, why didn't it work in previous time? Because I'm consuming the event here. And when I was calling it on the item with this one, use on entity, it would work, but at the same time, this use on entity would call the same listener on the villager that would open the trading panel. And then when I would get to the end, as you see, it would return the super and everything would mess up. However, here I'm consuming that event totally and telling the system that, hey, I don't need you to do anything else. Okay, here's a question. What if I fail? Okay, let's take a look at that. Let's think, when would I fail is exactly when I have a villager with the occupation and I don't have any NBT. So if I click on him, it will open the trade panel. As simple as that. But if I have bound and I want to teleport, it will teleport. If I don't bound, it will open the trade panel. The reason is that this whole thing will fail. Also take note, when I'm not bound and I try to do anything, it won't work. And here, I just open the trade panel and no message is happening. If I bind this tuner into another dimension and come back to overworld and click on this villager, what do you think will happen? Will it open the trade panel or will it consume the event or whatever? Let's take a look at the logic here. We had NBT on the data. That's correct. We bound it to another dimension. We are clicking on the villager, so we will fall here. However, we are checking the dimension here, and the dimension is not correct. So on the server side, we will fail, and on the client side, we will get the message and fail. When we fail the event, nothing will happen. If I would want to get the message and get the trade panel, I should return action result pass. However, I'm returning action result fail. Means that, hey, consume the event and do nothing. And that's the beauty of it. So if the tuner was bound to another location in another dimension, and I would call the event with clicking on the villager, I would get the chat message that, hey, the dimension is wrong, you were bound to another dimension, whatever the message it is, and I wouldn't get the trade panel to occupy that message. I only get the trade panel when this tuner is not bound to any place. Why? Because I'm checking if the data is null or not. Well, if the data is null, I fall all the way down and put the action result pass, meaning that, hey, any other listener, you are free to consume the event. The GUI will rise up. If I have any type of data on the item, and that data can be anything, like a name for the item, it will come back here. Although, because I did have no NBT there, I'm consuming the event. This part is arguable because I can say that, hey, instead of consuming the event, pass. Only consume the event when you are sure that you have the data, that you have the NBT, that you are not blacklisted, that you are villager. Only then fail and consume the event. This shows a great example of being careful when you work with events. Make sure you know when you are passing, when you are failing, and when you are consuming the successful event. If you are writing the code just to see that it works correctly, that's okay. When you finish the code, come back and follow your own logic. What will happen if I have any sort of data? Maybe in future I make a decision that I would put a name on this tuner. If that is the case, then I want to be sure that I check properly because a name on the tuner is data. It may not be NBT. It is data. Anyway, I'm storing it in any other format using the data component types. So it's not NBT, but it is data. Then I have data. I come here. Well, the NBT is null, and I was failing the event. I want to see that trade panel there. Let's make it action result pass. And if I'm clicking on it, on any entity that is blacklisted, why should I fail? Maybe some modpack developer make the decision that villagers should be blacklisted. Okay, now if I click on the villager, tuner does nothing, but the trade panel is not coming up because I was failing the action. So make sure that you are really careful on when to pass, when to success, and when to fail the action. One last thing on this video. Where can I find the whole list of events in Fabric? If you come to external libraries, you should find NetFabric Yarn, Fabric API base. Open it, Net, Fabric MC, Fabric API event, and Event Factory. Now, on Event Factory, you have two create array baked. Choose the first one, move on this guy, double click to select it, not just by moving the mouse, not the cursor blinking there, select the whole thing, Control Alt H, it brings up the colors of this method, and you see all the events that are existing inside the game. Many people argue that Fabric has less events compared to Forge or NeoForge. If you take a look at this list, you will see that there are tons of events here, and if you play carefully, there is a chance that you can put a listener in proper way and handle things. However, sometimes there is no event for what you want to do whatsoever. You have two options there. Either use mixin to directly inject your code or create your own custom event. Now, the problem is that creating your own custom event means that somewhere in the game, you have to fire that event. If the event is dedicated to your mod, that's okay. You just put the code somewhere, sending a sync event blah to the world. But if the event is related to Minecraft itself, again, you have to use mixin to put that event somewhere. So if you have to put the event call using mixin, then why not use mixin directly and handle things directly? The difference is that when you are putting the mixin code directly and injecting your logic to Minecraft, others can't use your help. If you are injecting an event, if anyone else wants to add a mod, like an add-on for your mod, they can fire up that event and put a listener to that event in their own sub modular mod or add-on or whatever you call it. And that's the beauty of it. For example, Crate is a mod, and the other people have developed few different mods as add-ons for Crate. Now, if the mod developer of Crate would inject his code directly into Minecraft, others would not be able to use Crate API, and they had to inject their own code now. However, if there is an event dedicated to a Crate machine, for example, now the mod developer can create his own event and inject the event inside the Minecraft using the mixin to fire the event. And any add-on developer now can add a listener to that event. And that's the beauty of having events. Using event system is really a powerful solution for many problems. But as I said, just be careful, because if you consume the event immaturely, you can cause problems. If you developed a mod and someone called and told you, hey, I have issues when I add your mod to the game, this or that feature will not work anymore, and you are using events, be careful. Go and follow the logic of that event. Chances are that your problem is there. If you are using mixins, that's the first priority though. If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on that bell so that when I publish a new video, you will get informed. Have fun, everyone. Bye.